All right, this is Mr. Red Fox speaking, owner and proprietor of BS Busters. Today we're talking about the obligatory Elder Scrolls 6 video. Essentially speaking, this is not going to be me talking about what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have or anything, because at this point, we don't know. There's no idea of what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have. The only thing we know is that Bethesda said that they're starting to work on it, but Bethesda lies. Because Bethesda Softworks, the main studio that makes, Fallout and Elder Scrolls 5 and Fallout, not Fallout 76, but what was that other game they fucking made? They're working on Starfield's coming out this year. That shit, that fucking company. Yeah, they're not going to start working on Elder Scrolls 6 until they finish with Starfield. Now, Starfield is supposedly coming out this year, so they'll probably start working on Elder Scrolls 6 at that point. They showed off an animation where they showed a pan of some that looked like it was from a known region in the Elder Scrolls series, but you got to take that shit with not a grain of salt, a handful of salt. So, without much ado, this video is going to be me going into what I think, what I think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have to do in order to really be a truly great game. By looking at what Bethesda's been doing over the last 10 years, like what they've come out with, what they've been doing. So without much ado, let's get into it after the cut. So one of the big things that we've heard, that we've seen Bethesda Softworks do with their games is constantly stripping out features with what they call streamlining in order to make their games more accessible to a more casual audience. At this point, there's nothing else they could really take out of Elder Scrolls except for what little bit of attributes we have left, which is health, magicka, and stamina. And at this point, it's just getting to be too much. In my humble opinion, it's getting to be a little bit too much. So, I think they should go the opposite direction with Elder Scrolls 6 and add back features that have been stripped down over the years. Oblivion got rid of an entire weapon class. NPC classes, that type of thing. Skyrim got rid of classes entirely and attributes. Now, for those of you who ask, what the fuck are attributes? Attributes are governing stats that they're basically your governing stats that basically determine how effective your skills are. So, for example, let's say your physical strength is 50, right? If your physical strength is 50 in past Elder Scrolls games that had attributes, but your longsword skill was 100, yeah, you'd be really good at using longswords, but your physical strength would give you like a hard wall on how much base damage you were doing. If you mastered restoration, but your your intelligence was like 70. Yeah, you'd be good at magic, but you wouldn't be as good as someone who had that same mastery who had 100 intelligence. Basically, your attributes were your hard stats that determined how effective your skills were. They should bring that back. They should legitimately bring that back. They should bring back spears. Unarmed should be a viable combat style. And as your skill went up in a particular, as your numbers went up, as your the numbers associated with the skill went up, then how you used that item or that weapon or that skill would go up. So maybe in the beginning, as a magic user, your spells will sometimes fizzle out because it's low level, but at a higher level, the lower level stuff works all the time, and maybe you do a little flair. Maybe in the beginning of the game with your sword skill kind of is basic. Like your sword attacks are basic, like you look like you do in Skyrim when you're attacking someone where you're just throwing your sword out. But then, you get your mastery up and you're friggin' doing some really cool like sword techniques and shit like that. And it looks cool. You've got more flair, more efficiency of movement. What I'm saying is that, Skyrim came out 10 years ago. You cannot have a game that is just more like Skyrim on, with Elder Scrolls 6. You can't. You just can't. You can't. So, with that being said, I'll continue it with some other things this Elder Scrolls 6 should have. And I'll go to factions first. So one of the big things you see in Skyrim, and it's kind of a problem, is that the factions, you can basically do everything. You can be a member of the Imperial Legion, but also go and be a member of the Dark Brotherhood and assassinate the Emperor of the Empire. The factions need to be factional, and what I mean by that is that certain things preclude other things. Or if you wanna, if you are a Red Guard, right? And Red Guards traditionally don't really think too highly about magic users. Then, it should be slightly more difficult for you to join a magic organization. Just because, people will have a stereotype about you. Even if you have a build that's a Red Guard that might be really good at magic. There should be, the factions should have certain, reputation and the way they treat the world and stuff like that other factions don't have. And maybe because, this game is probably going to take place after the events of Skyrim, maybe a time jump, let's have some other, let's have there be some new organizations trying to get a toehold in what's going on. Let's have, maybe the Fighters Guild is there, but then have some other organizations trying to get a piece of the pie. Something like that. What I'm saying is that there should be, maybe, the Mages Guild has been disbanded, but there's other magical organizations who are propping up and saying, hey, we want in on this, etc., etc. What I'm saying is that there needs to be, the factions need to actually matter, and certain things should preclude you from other factions. Just because, for role-playing aspects. I'll get to the main quest after the cut. One of the major issues of Skyrim is that the main quest seems to take place in a vacuum, except for a branching quest solution that can occur in the game where essentially what happens is that you can get the two sides of the Civil War to call a truce and deal with the dragons. But that's it. If you did the Thieves Guild quest, the Imperial Legion quest, any of those other quests, the Civil War quest, all those other quests in the game, at that point, what essentially winds up happening is none of those quests have any real bearing on the main quest, which is weird. It's like the main quest takes place in a vacuum. To me, that's just bad game design. You know, it's also nonsensical. Like, wouldn't it make sense for, you know, if you did the Mages Guild side quest or the College of Winterhold, which is the Mages College in Skyrim, wouldn't it make sense that if you're also doing this main quest where you're like, you know, fighting, you know, dragons and shit, that you'd also be able to call for some support from, you know, magic users? Doesn't that kind of fucking make sense? Not in Skyrim. You know, none of these side factions, side quests have anything to do with the main quest. It takes place in a fucking vacuum. And to me, that's just very bad game design. So, how could we fix that? Well, they could do a quest. They could do a quest design where the quest is kind of essentially, the main quest is essentially go the Fallout New Vegas route, where the main quest is essentially kind of like the main quest is kind of weak, and the solution of the main quest is the sum total of what you did in the main quest not the main quest, the side quest. Or they could have a main quest that is very plug and play, and the shit that you do in the side quests actually affects the main quest. Either one of the two. Either one would be very interesting to me. But those are just my thoughts. Give me your opinions in the comment section. What type of main quest would be interesting in an Elder Scrolls 6? So that being said, let's move on to the third topic, which is things that they should add back from previous Elder Scrolls games after the cut. So one of the big issues with Elder Scrolls V was just the sheer amount of gameplay features that were stripped out. Mostly because I think Bethesda just didn't really feel like implementing it. Some of which was actually really cool stuff, and I'm like, why is this not here? So here's my idea for adding those back in a cohesive way from previous games. The first thing I'm going to add that I think would be very good to bring back. Customized magic. What I mean by this is, in previous Elder Scrolls games, you could create your own magic. And you got out of it what you put into it. So if you did kind of a mediocre, like if you weren't very good at magic, then it wasn't going to be all that cool. But if you were good at magic, essentially you could create some spells that did some really amazing shit. And I think that's something that bears to be brought back. Also, I do think that they could also stand to bring back such things as spears. Spears and polearms. So, you know, like battle staffs and glaives and shit like that. I think that they should keep attribute. I think they should keep perks since people are used to them. But I think they should also bring back attributes and have certain perks that you cannot get unless you have the attributes or stats to go for that. What I mean by this is, like you have like general perks that are tied to your attributes and not your physical not your perks or your skill. So, for example, let's say you want the ability to wield a two-handed sword with one hand. Well, I mean, that shouldn't be tied to, well, I mastered two-handed weapons. That should be tied to, like, my physical strength is high enough that I can wield a two-handed sword physically with one hand. That should be a personal perk for your character that is gained through raising your physical strength. Not a, oh, I bought this in the perk tree because I leveled up. Yay. But that's my own personal opinion. I know some people would disagree. Bring back on-touch spells. I said this earlier. Make unarmed combat into its own thing like it used to be in previous games. Daggerfall and Morrowind. And here's something. I would, if you're going to have companions, like companion AI characters, I would rather have 6 or 7 really well written, well realized AI companion characters than having the choice of like 20, 25, 18, 20, and most of them are shit. That's just my own personal opinion. Give me your thoughts in the comment section. With that being said, I'll give my overall thoughts after the cut. So, in conclusion, essentially speaking, we don't know anything about this game at this point. I don't think Bethesda, I don't even think it's in pre-production at this point at Bethesda. That being said, there definitely needs to be in this game, they need to add features that have been stripped out in the series for so many years. Are they going to do it? Probably not, because it's Todd Howard. Todd Howard's kind of a hack in my opinion. But with that being said, let's keep it moving to the next, to my real conclusion, which is, one of the big things that's kind of missing in the under Bethesda is that their main engine that they've been using, the creation engine, which is just a derivative of the Gamebryo engine, which is just a derivative of NetImmerse, they need to spend a year before they start developing this next game, overhauling that engine. Because, I mean, I'm going to keep it right now. If I'm still in a game where the same bugs that were in Oblivion are in Skyrim, are in this game, I'm going to have an apoplexy. I'm going to have a fucking apoplexy. So, that's my conclusion. De-streamlining and the engine needs to be overhauled before they start making anything for the next game. But that's my opinion. Give me your thoughts, what you think the next Elder Scrolls needs to have. Yay or nay, agree or disagree. That's the end of this video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. All of the links to get in touch with the channel are in the description. Gmail, Twitter. In the future, I'm strongly giving some thoughts into going on Twitch, doing Twitch gameplay, but that's going to depend. So with that being said, this is this video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, and have a good day.